All right, hello. Welcome to AWS Made Easy episode number 71. I'm Stephen Barr, joined by Rahul Subramaniam,
Hey everyone.
and we're very happy to have Rohini Gaonkar joining us today. She is a developer advocate with AWS, and we're really glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Stephen and Rahul. This is really going to be a fun stream for sure.
Thank you
This
for
is going
being
to be
here.
a fun episode.
And Rohini, you're joining us today from Toronto, right?
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for making the time zones work. It's always a challenge, but we appreciate that a lot. How have things been? How are things? Is it getting colder this time of year? Have you had snow yet?
Oh, no snow yet, but it is getting colder. But I'm enjoying the fall colors. So we had a good trip, and we've been like just chasing around fall colors around Toronto. It's just beautiful outside.
Oh,
Oh,
fantastic.
amazing. Yeah, Ontario is pretty fabulous at this time of the year. In fact,
Yes.
all of the east coast of the US as well, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to
Steven, how was
live.
your weekend?
Oh, it was really good. We just catching up a lot, and it was really rainy, but I don't know. It was relaxing.
So
Um,
summer's all gone, is it, in Seattle?
no, well, it looks like Thursday we're going to have a little um, mini summer day, like a late summer day. So we're gonna try and leverage that as best we can. Maybe cook outside, and you know that should be good. But no,
It's like the
it's
skies will
ninety
open
percent
up for
gone.
the sun rays to come for like 2 or 3 hours, and that'll be your
Yeah,
That'd
exactly.
be the
They
summer.
have
highlight of
this
the
term
week.
here called they have this term here called a sun break, where the
Okay.
clouds part for an hour or two and you get some sunshine. So that's the term for that.
Sun break. Okay. I learned something new.
I think here in India, we pray for the opposite. For a little while, if the clouds could come in and kind of make this
So,
place a little cooler.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people ask me what do you love about Canada, and I would say the weather. Like, I know most Indians love, some Indians love sun after they come to Canada. They're like, it's too cold, but I actually love the cold. So, this is like a light jacket, and I'm out. Like, it's a nice weather right now. I love it.
Okay,
Very
we
true.
always like change, right? I used to live in Australia, and we had our fair share of hot
Oh yeah,
days,
oh yeah.
and so we still kind of just savor the nice. I think I'm in your boat, just savor the nice, cool, crisp days where you can see your breath in the air. It's really nice.
Oh, nice. Because it's easier to warm up than it's easier to cool down. Like if I have to warm up, I'll just get a hot coffee or a chocolate and I'll be like snuggled up in a blanket and I'm like, yeah, this is home. But in summers, it just gets crazy. I cannot handle summers at all.
Awesome.
Well, speaking of very hot, let's talk about Vegas because that's so reInvent 2023 coming up. Thank you for joining us. I think it's really fun to do these. Well, it's a we want to focus this live stream on first time to reInvent. Rohini, you've been to several reInvents, and not just reInvents, but been to Vegas many times, right?
Yes.
So can you
Yes.
tell us about that?
Yeah, so I've been with AWS for last 10 years. So in the 10 years, I've been in the sales org for almost 5 years. And now we don't, but we used to have our sales kickoffs and our, technical summits, internal events in Vegas, because that was the city that could take so many people globally to come at one place. And I've been to Vegas a lot. Like, I was just telling you, like, being in Vegas is its craziness on its own, and then you add reInvent madness to it with so many, like 50,000 folks coming into Vegas. It just takes the craziness to another level. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about reInvent and Vegas.
That's really, so.
That's
10
awesome.
years at AWS. Can you give us a bit of background? What brought you into tech, into cloud, into AWS? Just yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, as you know that I'm born brought up in Bombay, Mumbai, and I didn't want to get into tech. I wanted to be a theater person, but when I was in like Rahul, you might know, like in junior college we have something like commerce. I even went
Yes.
for commerce because I wanted to go into theater, and somehow I fell in love with computers because my older brother was doing engineering, and he left home and there was a computer at home and I was just playing with it, and that's when I realized I actually like this more than theater. Like I can sit in front of a computer and break apart like the hardware and the software at that time. And so I switched my stream to do bachelor's in science in IT, and that's how it started. But in my first job, I'm a student, so I understand the students from pandemic because I'm the 2008 recession kid who came into the job market and there was no jobs. But luckily, there was a company called as Patni, which doesn't exist
Yeah.
anymore. But I joined Patni, and there I joined a research team. So they were doing R&D on different different cloud vendors that were popping out. This was in 2009, 2010, and
They were in
India.
Andheri, right?
Yes. See,
In the tech park in
SDF.
Andheri.
Yes.
That's the one.
So,
Yeah.
so then it was like India still had cloud as a buzzword, because it was 2009, 2010, and people were still exploring cloud. And that's when I was doing POCs in different clouds. Some of them don't even exist today, by the way. Uh, and that's when I fell in love with AWS. Honestly, I was like, this is amazing. Like, VPC had just came about and autoscaling was just there, and we were just playing around with things. And that's how I fell in love with AWS. And lucky enough, actually got to join AWS. So I did something which my parents didn't agree, and most Indian girls at age of 24, 25 don't think about. I applied for AWS at South Africa, and I moved alone to South Africa. And then because the support center that AWS had was in very few locations, and South Africa was
Got it.
one of the locations that I could join. And that's how it started. And then I became a solution architect over the years. And then I was doing a lot of community work. So it made sense to move into developer relations, because then I love doing community work. I love working with people, and just sharing knowledge is so much fun.
True.
Yeah. Being an SE for 5 years, it was too stressful. I'll tell you, it was. After a while, it's the same conversations, and it just gets a lot stressful. So I needed a break, and I needed to be a fun part, and that's why I'm in DevRel.
Well, I can imagine there's a story in and of itself there of a young person moving India to South Africa, blazing your own trail in tech instead of switching gears from you said performance. That's really neat.
Yeah. I mean, I never realized it then. Honestly, I was just like with the flow. I'm just like gonna go do things. But later on, when I actually moved from South Africa to Singapore and then went back to India, I realized that a lot of folks were like, you did something different, because that time I was being a rebel. I was like, my Indian parents are like, you're unmarried, you're not going to get out of the country alone as an unmarried girl to a place we don't know anyone. And I was like, but my brother supported me a lot, and that's how it happened. So I think we need to support more females and more women to get out of that comfort zone and do what they have to do rather than just traditional roles. And that's what I wanted to do as well as come in DevRel, like inspire more women to come and get out of that comfort zone of this is the path for us and this is what we're going to follow. Get out of that mold, and you can do much more than that.
That's a fascinating story. And I'm actually very encouraged by the fact that the dev relations team at AWS actually has a lot of really amazing women who are engaging with the community in such amazing ways that I think, had it been like an all male or an all female team, I don't think they'd be even half as effective. I think that amazing mix of really awesome personalities that come in together and work so harmoniously with each other is fascinating to see.
Yeah,
And it's really fun to engage with as well.
Exactly, and you need different perspectives, right? Because if you
Yes.
want the industry to have diversity, you need to also have the diversity represented somewhere for women to actually say, hey, yes, there is a representative of us. Like, for example, when I went back to India, I realized that the location that we were doing our meetups was not really safe. Like, even I would not be safe if I call an Uber and the Ubers will not be available. It was at a very difficult location. So we were like, hey, can we change the location? Can we change the timings to a little bit more friendly daytime so that, more women can participate? So these feedback need to go back. And that perspective comes when you yourself put yourself in that shoe, right? So agree.
That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I completely agree about perspectives. So we're even more grateful that you're here on the show to give us a different view of how things are going to be at ReInvent.
Definitely.
Great. So why don't we jump right in and start talking about reInvent specifically? Now, you've, like Steven said, I think, and you said you've been to multiple different reInvents, and there's the banner: 41 days to go.
Wow.
This is
Getting closer.
scarier than any horror movie I could watch.
I know.
Right?
It's coming.
I just paused. There's like last week when Jeff said it was 48 days, that felt close, but still felt like there was some time. And now suddenly 7 days have gone by, and now we are down to 41. It makes me think of my to-do list, which is like a mile long at this point.
So it's amazing this queue of things. Yeah, it's I have all these Google Docs I need to aggregate to do 15 October, to do 16 October. Okay, copy and paste them all together. Like, oh gosh.
Same here. Just procrastinating until reInvent, and then we're just gonna scramble. My goodness.
Yeah, it'll be fine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it'll be fine. It always ends up being this awesome kick-ass show that everyone loves to be in. And yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So, but before we jump into that, Rohini, tell us a little bit about how you see reInvent.
Okay.
What's your personal perspective about reInvent? Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that.
So I personally think a reInvent as a conference should be used for networking, because I feel like, yes, there are a lot of sessions. There's just so much to learn. Like, it's just going to be like a fire hose. You cannot learn everything. My brain is not capable enough to capture all that information. But I love meeting people, and I think if you meet people in person, the relationships are much more stronger. And we have lived for a year or 2 years from our home, and we haven't met people for a while. So this opportunity where everyone is coming together and people of the same mindset, right? Everyone loves talking about tech, and everyone's interested in the tech part of the world. Yes, AWS included, but it's a techies, it's a geeks. I'm a big nerd or a geek, so I feel like it's my area. Like, I can talk about the same topics that everyone wants to talk about, right? Even if you're from a different country, it doesn't matter because you're there. So I want this event, as anyone who goes for the first time, to use it to make those connections that are going to last you for the next year or next 10 years, for yourself, for your career, and for a lot of different opportunities that might come out of these events.
Got it. And from your perspective, is this about the practitioners? Is it about the vendors? Is it about the leadership of teams who are trying to get bought in? Or is it all of the above? Or like where? Because it seems so incredibly large. How do you guys think about where to focus and how to focus?
I'll tell you, there are different ways to look at it. Like, if you are an AWS customer, then you might want to build those relationships with, let's say, AWS service teams who are also part of like product teams that are present at reInvent. You may want to have those connections with them. You may want to have connections with different partners that AWS has, and you go to their booth and you have those one-on-one discussions with them and then carry them forward. But if you're an individual and you're an individual who's going to a conference and it's like, yeah, your company is sending you, but you're also there for your own career, then I would say look at it from that perspective. Like, meet with the community, people who are actually using AWS, learn from them of how, because even if it's a tech conference, it's not really just an AWS conference. I think we should not look at that, hey, AWS is there and they're preaching their stuff. It should be more of a conference where you who are not AWS employees, and you can share your stories and learn from each other. I feel we learn much more from experiences of others than a marketing or someone trying to preach something. I feel we learn from each other's experience. So if you're an individual, go talk to people, go join the sessions and talk to the people in the audience. Like, say, hey, hi, I'm from this company. I do blah, blah, blah. What do you do? Or there are different, like in the expo as well, there are different, that's one thing I wanted to talk, but I'll tell you, like, we have these community sessions that we do in the developer lounge where the community folks, they come and present about their experience, right, of how they used AWS, maybe for personal projects or at their organization, and talk to them, get their experience, get their understanding of what they see, because it will be unbiased, honestly, because they might have played with different things and that's why they landed on that particular tool or that product. So that might be something to explore for sure.
Sounds really great. So let's start from the basics. So reInvent is going to be in Vegas, and the dates are all locked in. Steven, you want to put up the dates in a banner so
Yes. Um,
everyone has them front and center.
Well,
41 days to go, man. That's all. Every time I think about it, it's closer than I'd like it to be. But
I will share the
excited at the
screen
same
here.
time.
Let me 1 second. Let me put this on screen.
Okay.
So we go from 26th December. Sorry, 26th November to 2nd December.
Yeah.
Is 27th. Oh, 26th is the day I land there.
Yeah.
So it's 27th to December 1st. And this is going to be in Vegas. And so if you haven't made plans, if you haven't booked your tickets, please do that right now. I've been told that the tickets are insanely expensive at this point, right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So,
the tickets and the hotels both get crazy expensive at the same time.
Tell me if this is my hypothesis, and I need to do some digging on this, is that the reInvent schedule was probably initially based on the fact that it was a good deal. It was not as an unwanted time slot for conferences. The weekend after Thanksgiving, does everyone really want to travel? And then now it's so anchors, right? It's part of the process right now. Like I wonder if that's the case. Like, why is it in this time of the year? Rohini, do you have any insight as a Las Vegas as being experienced with AWS throughout the last 10 years?
So I think you're right. Like, it was initially, the thought was the same, that the week after Thanksgiving it's going to be quiet, and we're stuck to the same plan, because I've heard somewhere in the years that we were going to change the location. But I think it's Vegas. Like, Vegas is one of those places on the planet that can actually accommodate 50,000 tourists coming in for a week, and then being able to displace them and have different locations where you can settle them and have sessions as well. So I think that's why Vegas makes sense. And if you go to Vegas in summer, it's going to be expensive. So I think everything the events that I talked about when I went to Vegas were mostly in the winter. Okay. And this is like a start of winter, which is an off season kind of a thing where you can actually go. And I think this year it's getting crazy, because I think F1 is also in Vegas, if I'm not wrong. There's some racing.
Is there a Vegas F1? I thought it's only in Austin. Isn't it
Something
only
is
Austin,
happening.
Texas?
And there's also a big.
There's usually a rodeo.
A rodeo.
The rodeo event is usually right after reInvent.
Yeah. So it's
a packed schedule. I think when I come to think about it, there are literally two cities that come to mind that can actually host an event as large as reInvent. The first is, of course, Vegas,
of course,
and an obvious choice. The second one is Dubai. I think of all the cities in the world, Dubai is probably one of those other ones that can support it. I know Barcelona does MWC, but it's a struggle in Barcelona. Like, I think when you get to anywhere near the 65,000 odd people showing up, I think even Barcelona kind of struggles to cater to that many people. But I think Dubai and Vegas are two cities that are kind of suited to handling that kind of traffic. However, I would love to see AWS at some point of time make Dubai its center, because it's still very US centric in its entire approach. Like, I think in the scheme of things, for people traveling from the US, it's cheaper, easier, good connectivity, all of that stuff. But for people coming in from other parts of the world, it actually there are at least two connections, if not more, that you'll have to make to get there. I think I'm flying.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I know I'm flying Chennai, Dubai, LA to Vegas.
Right. Are you based in Chennai?
I am based out of Chennai.
Oh, nice.
So I do remote. I enjoy remote for the most part of the year, but I love traveling to the US when it comes to events like reInvent.
Same. So even I used to travel a lot to Vegas. Sometimes it would be like 24 to 30-hour flights just to get to Vegas, and then you get crazy jet lag. Like,
Yes.
it would be difficult to stay awake in the afternoon, and the nights would be just spent like a night owl, like let me get to sleep. So yes, I definitely agree with you that the other side of the world gets jet lag, and it's difficult and it's long journey. But I think because majority of the teams in AWS sit in US, and the service teams are also majority of them in US, I think
Yeah.
that's why Vegas makes more sense to them. But we'll see.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
interesting to
fingers
see how
crossed.
it evolves over time.
Yeah.
And then Rohini, I shared the link with the chat. There is an F1 race. You said the Formula One Heineken Silver Las Vegas Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So maybe book a few days early, have a chance.
Wow.
I wanted
This
to
is
say hi and
interesting.
thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Please post your questions about Vegas, about reInvent, about things that you want to talk about during the stream, questions that you have, and then how much of reInvent you can catch online. Rohini, I like what you said about there's so much of it you can catch online. So if you're going there in person, really use that opportunity to network, to meet people, to do those things. You can get the contents of the talk online,
Yeah.
but you can't have that one-on-one interaction. Go grab a coffee with someone. If that's something you can't do online, so leverage that.
Yeah.
I wanted to, like I said, well, I think Rahul, where you were heading, kind of go back to the beginning. There's a set of, what do they call, like the straightforward advice for reInvent, right? So things that, and the first time I heard this list, I thought, okay, this is stuff we should all know. But then you get there, like, okay, this is really good advice. So some of the things I put down, let's have a chat about those. When you're planning out your day, when you're planning out your schedule, you want to think that things are further apart than you'd think. If you have a talk that ends at 10:45, and you want to catch an 11 o'clock talk in another building, is that possible?
No, it isn't.
No.
It just isn't possible. And I think the amazing thing is that you have to rely a lot on the events app. So if you are attending, please download the events app. And the nice thing about the events app is that it will prevent you from scheduling two events that are physically impossible to get to one after the other. So
Well, here,
I think they had that implemented last year.
I'll put this on screen. So this was what confused me a little bit. So when you go to the web page, okay, here's what they call the campus, right? And they show, okay, here's the Encore, the Wynn, the Venetian. Oh, it's so close.
They look like rooms that are adjacent to each other.
They are not close. They are not. I walked from Venetian to Encore, and it took me like easily 20-30 minutes. And I was like, someone told me, it's just there's a hotel beside. I'm like, no, it looks closer than it is. It's just a lot of walking.
All right. So here's the Google Maps view. This is actually really helpful to get an idea of how this is laid out. So trying to map this together. So here's the Wynn, and
the
then
Encore is behind it.
all of this stuff is stuff you have to navigate through. All of these little buildings, right? So here's all the stores and the casino floor and things that they want to, get you stuck buying things or playing.
And
some
there
games.
isn't a straight path anywhere.
No.
You have to
it's
retail, right? So you have to go in
It's not like you're
a
going to
winding route.
Exactly. And sometimes they'll be like, you will be like, I just want to go to that hotel. No. You have to go from inside the hotel, go through the retail shops. Like, they want you to see the products and they want you to get engaged with it. They're not going to, like, even if you walk from outside, it's still a lot. And if it's windy at Vegas, getting from one place to another place, it just gets too cold. If you're not used to cold, it gets too cold. You have to grab a jacket, and it gets crazy windy in the evenings. I've done the Venetian to Encore, and I'm like, sorry. I won't suggest it to anyone.
So where is let's find the Venetian here. Okay, so when you see it on the map here, you say, okay, Venetian number 3, Encore is number 1. But what you're really doing here is, here's the Venetian.
Yeah.
You're walking through this enormous building, right? Going through store after store after
that
store
water body
after
there
store after
has
store after
gondola
store.
rides as well. And so it's huge. This doesn't even do justice to the scale.
Yeah.
Well, look how many swimming pools are there, just to get an idea of the size. So let's see the size. Yeah, these are chairs, and then you have to go across this thing here, across this bridge, and then you walk through this whole structure here, which is just store after store after store after store, and then the conference center is underground of the main hotel in here, and then you have to go down another floor. Oh, and then maybe here's another one you want to keep hydrated. Oh, I'll grab a bottle of water on the way. Okay, the line is going to be 20 minutes.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Getting a coffee at like Vegas, it's like at least 20-30 minutes. You know the one coffee shop at Venetian where you go through and then there's an expo. That coffee shop has like long queues. They just keep going and going and going. It's like I cannot get a coffee without standing in queue. So yes, it is huge, not just by the scale, but also the time that you're going to be spending in every queue for food, for water. Everything has to have a queue.
Got
So
it.
be prepared.
So I'm going to bring up two topics that
Yeah.
are very dear to me related to exactly this. The first one is a lesson I learned after my very first reInvent, where I wore formal shoes
Okay.
because I was presenting. I thought we're good to wear formal shoes and attend this thing, and I didn't pack any other pair. And I was in pain after day one. Please do not wear, uncomfortable shoes. They might look nice, they might look fancy, but no, you have to wear comfortable shoes because you're going to be walking miles. If you were wearing a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, you're going to
be
hit
happy.
every single target that you had set. You can be at the expert level targets and you will nail them within half a day. So advice number one or tip number one would be absolutely wear comfortable shoes because you are going to be standing for the vast majority of the day. You're going to be walking like crazy. Rohini, anything else to add that I might have missed on that?
My first watch was 20 to 25,000 at least. I think the first day I was like 20 to 25,000 steps in a day. That's not me. So yes, if you do some cardio before you go to, like, there's 41 days. Okay, so you can start today. Build your stamina if you want to go to Vegas for ReInvent for sure.
Absolutely. And the second thing I wanted to ask was, especially someone coming from the subcontinent where the idea of a cold breakfast is alien. More importantly, the idea of not having breakfast is also alien. And no matter what hotel you're at, finding breakfast early in the day is virtually impossible. Any tips?
I kind of agree with you because I cannot do cold breakfast. Like, I need something warm in the morning. Even if AWS has been improving over the years, I would say. I won't say it has been amazing, but it has been improving. Like, we do have breakfast under the expo area, and then there is breakfast and then coffee, and they do have some warm things. Or if you're, especially like if you need halal or kosher, you can also ask for those kind of meals separately. So they might have those. They run out for sure, but there is an option. The other thing that I found is there are these small food courts. Like Venetian has a food court where people, I've seen like folks from India, our community used to go to that one Indian restaurant they could find in Venetian, and they will sit at one Indian restaurant because that's the only place they could get vegetarian options, and they would go there and eat that. So yes, there are some food courts. If not, don't wait for grabbing your coffee until you reach Venetian or something in the morning. If you're further, like I was in Bellagio last year, so the coffee shop in Bellagio didn't have long queues, so I would go there in the morning and grab something from there because I do need a breakfast. If I don't get breakfast, you're going to see the hangry Rohini, which is not fun at all.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, generally, I was actually very surprised about Vegas where you don't see the restaurants or the stores open up in the morning for breakfast. They typically open way past 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Like almost nothing is, you only have the Starbucks and the Costas or whatever the other brands are over there.
Yeah.
Only those are open in the morning and you can grab something and walk along. So the idea of sitting down for breakfast is almost alien in Vegas. And I've always wondered why that's true of Vegas.
I think it's maybe because things are open like till late, because Vegas is supposed to be a night kind of a city. Like a lot of people stay up till like 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning and they sleep throughout the day. So that's why I've seen a lot of restaurants being open at 4 or 5 a.m. because I'm jet lagged. I need food, so I used to get at odd times and get food.
That I'm going to get tips from you about the restaurants to visit at 4 a.m.
Yes.
because I'm going to be insanely jet lagged as well, and that might be the trek to it.
And one thing that I've seen people do, especially, is try to get hotels, or not hotels, but the rooms like Airbnb, Airbnb kind of a thing, where you can have a microwave or something in your room itself. So they would get the food from back home, or like noodles or
Yeah.
something like that, like instant noodles, and then make them in the room. But I like the comment that came in.
Put this on screen.
That is so
That's what I was thinking. Is that if you smell a nice breakfast, it's going to kind of ruin your roll, and you might walk away from the casino table to go, oh, bacon and eggs, that's smelling really good. I want to. Let's just
No
wrap up.
distractions.
Let's wrap up this roulette game. And
Yeah, one of the trivia questions that I grew up learning very early on during my school days was that Vegas, none of the places have clocks, so that you don't get a sense of time in any of the casinos, and you can spend as long as you want. And this seems to be an extension of that. Don't have breakfast places with nice smells emanating from those restaurants, so that you can be kept at the casinos as long as possible.
And the third thing actually I wanted to add was I underestimated this. So I thought, you know what, I'm not going to walk. Like, I think I was in Aria to Venetian. It was a long walk, and I was like, I'm not going to walk. I'm done for the day. I'll take a cab, and I'll go there and spend some money, like $10. That's fine. But it actually doesn't happen like that, because if you think you want to take a cab, there are already too many shuttles that AWS has from one place to another. And then Vegas has traffic, like the strip does get traffic. So if you're thinking at a very peak hour, like in evenings or mornings when people are actually out going to different parties or going back to the hotel, it's gonna get crazy traffic jam. So don't think, oh, the hotel is here, like me, stupid thing, like I'll be there in 10 minutes. It doesn't work like that. The pickup locations are different for cabs, and then once the cab arrives, it's gonna take a long time to reach. So plan your day in advance.
yeah, you won't be able to save time because, like you said, the pickup locations have a line of 100 cabs. The drop-offs are still nowhere near the door where you're going.
Correct.
Exactly.
So unless you have some, VIP transit where you can go to the secret tunnels underground of the hotels, it's going to be slow.
Rohini, you're going to let us know about the secret tunnels right after this call, right?
I wish I knew. I'm no VIP for sure. But yes, the traffic does get crazy as well. So don't think that if you
That's a good
cannot walk, you're going to get into traffic for sure.
Well, I wanted to bring up one other topic and tell me if this matches everyone else's experience. But I would say that you have to get rid of your fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're going to get invited to dinners, to after parties, to after parties. Maybe breakfast if you could find one. Impromptu meetings. You're going to be sucked into a good conversation and forget to go to a talk that you meant to go to. How do you deal with that fear of missing out?
Rahul, you want to go ahead first?
Sure. For me, it's always been, I have literally kept an empty calendar. I rarely ever go to very specific talks. And like you said, it is actually all about the people and the network. So if a conversation hits, and if you start, you start meeting with people who are interesting, and you see, value in being there and having those conversations, or going to a particular party to follow up on something that was going on earlier, go with the flow. Don't keep your agenda so rigid that you can't make changes and follow up with people, because it is all about the people. It's all about the connections that you make at that place. And so go attend whatever show, whatever talks you can, whatever events you can. That's all fine, but keep the people first. If the conversations come up, whatever, make sure it's flexible. There are, number one, without a doubt, an amazing set of talks that are going to be happening over there. Don't feel like you have to attend them right there. Now, if you want to go and speak to the speaker of that talk and you want to have that conversation, absolutely go do that. Because like I said, it's all about the people.
Yeah.
The talks will be available later online. So you can go catch up on those later. But if you actually want to go meet with the person who's talking over there and you want to pick their brain on something, absolutely use that opportunity to go there. You can time your sessions or you can time your walks accordingly. Do remember that they will not allow you in the room. I think, was it 10 minutes before the talk starts or after the talk starts? For sure, you will not be allowed to enter the room or that particular arena.
Yeah, if
And so
it's
you can
full,
either
like,
wait for them to come out
yeah.
or reach there in time so that you can actually attend the talk and then have that conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Because just to clarify, the breakout sessions are recorded and they do get uploaded to YouTube like within 48 hours or so, or maybe next week if that is the case. But there are talks like chalk talks, which are very small group of people coming into a small room and someone presenting with a whiteboard or something. Those don't get recorded. So I normally say that yes, there will always be FOMO. There are 100 things that you want to do. There are so many people you want to meet, so many things you want to learn, but we cannot do it all. So try to prioritize, like, what is the priority for you. Is it networking? Is it a particular topic? Like, I want to learn about serverless, or I want to learn about Gen AI, which is going on. So you can prioritize what you need to do and focus on. If you want to do hands-on, then go for workshops or something that is hands-on. But if you want to talk to people, then yes, a lot of folks are doing presentations, so that's a great place to find them. But they might want to run somewhere, so reach out to people before reInvent. That is what I would suggest. Like, a lot of people add on Twitter, like, hey, I'm at reInvent, or someone would publish somewhere, hey, I'll be at reInvent, come say hi. So then you can reach out to people and say, hey, you know what, I want to meet you. Is there a place we can meet or catch up? That's how you can actually build those relationships and go to parties with them. Who knows? You go to parties, play games. It's a very fun thing to actually meet. So parties are a great place to actually meet people. So if you know people are going somewhere, like, hey, you want to catch this party somewhere? Yeah, it's just not going to be a party. It's just food and drinks, but it's a good place to catch up.
I think the only exception, so I completely agree with you, Rohini. The only exception is both Stephen and I are doing talks at reInvent. So please definitely make sure to be there. We are going to be there.
Nice.
So
that will be, you will miss out if you don't go.
yes, you will miss out, and you won't get to see us if you are not there. So I'm doing a talk on cost optimization and
Lovely.
sharing a lot of our insights. And Stephen, along with a bunch of other AWS developer advocates, is doing the cost saving spectacular.
Lovely.
It's going to be almost
It'll
a
be
Broadway-like
unique.
production.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be unique.
Yeah, it's just a
and
fun
hopefully
thing.
a lot of things to learn. Well,
Correct.
this
So
really,
don't miss out on those two. You can miss out on all the other talks, but those two is a must see.
absolutely. I'll leave that banner up for a little bit.
Yes.
Well,
Please
I
do.
was thinking what we could do. Let's take a 30-second break, and we come back. Let's talk about some of the bigger picture strategy. How do we allocate our time? Should we go to talks, the booths, and then think about some stories that we've had from prior years at reInvent, what we get out of it personally, and let's keep the conversation going. Please, if you were in the chat, if you were watching remotely on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, please ask your questions, ask your comments. Share some fun Vegas stories, and let's have a great second half of the stream. Let's take a quick 30-second break, and we will be right back.
Some tools just find AWS cost savings and make you do all the work. Visualizing cost opportunities is great, but that's not enough. CloudFix, on the other hand, actually delivers those savings for you. And you don't need to worry, because CloudFix is AWS recommended and easy to use. It's the only tool that fixes cost-saving opportunities, and not just fines. It's the easiest way to save money on AWS. It's all 100% automatic and risk-free. And the best part of all, it works non-stop. Stop overspending on AWS and click on the button to start saving now.
Okay, we are back. Well, okay, so to summarize the first half of the show, okay, it's really big, reInvent. Go look at it. Go explore Google Earth to have a look at the Las Vegas Strip and use that measuring tool. It's big. So plan out, if you have a 15 minutes between talks, and they're in different buildings, run. And we had actually.
I love that pause before the.
Well, I was
Run.
thinking. So I was thinking about Garrett from last year, and we roped
Yes.
him into a meeting that we wanted him to attend, and it was a short notice thing. Garrett's one of our colleagues, Rohini, and he ran down the strip, and he made it. And of course, pulled himself together in 1 second, sat down, totally composed. It was great. So either run or just adjust your schedule. Have comfortable walking shoes. Have hydration because it's dry, and also it's just there's big lines for everything. ReInvent, they usually give you a little ReInvent water bottle, and those are refillable, and there's lots of water filling stations around. But if you want something else, you have to plan ahead. The idea of grabbing a quick 1-minute coffee between talks, that's not going to happen. The other one is
No, however, if you're at the expo floor, make use of a lot of the coffee stations that are, interspersed across the expo floor. You will get coffee over there, and it's a great way to pick up, at least a quick coffee or water or things like that as you're transiting, between different places.
Well, go to the expo floor, grab a coffee, and then come talk to us at the CloudFix booth while you're having that coffee.
Absolutely.
And there you go. And then we'll, take a little break and learn about cost optimization automated through CloudFix.
Yeah,
That would be a
and
great way to spend a
carry
coffee break.
Carry your lip balm. Vegas is dry. As a
Yes.
weather, it's very dry. So carry lip balm or moisturizer. It just gets crazy dry. Yeah.
And then also, thank you for the lip balm, and then power through your fear of missing out. It's a giant conference. You're going to miss out on lots of things, but don't worry about that. Just let it, like Rahul, like you said, go with the flow. If
There's
you're in a
another
good
ReInvent
conversation,
coming up
stay
in
in
a
the
year.
conversation.
There's another ReInvent coming in a year, so it's okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
So here's a question. So how do you allocate your time? So there's talks, there's networking, there's the expo floor. If you were planning on going there for the first time, how would you allocate that between it? I know, like when I was a student and I go to conferences, right? It would be like Tetris, right? You fill up the schedule, got to go to this talk, this talk, this talk, this talk. It's all kind of gathering. But being a bit more strategic, how would you allocate your time between networking, talks, and visiting the expo? How would you kind of break down your day?
Yeah, I mean, first thing, as an AWS employee, I don't get to attend any sessions. Okay, employees are not allowed to attend sessions because the space is for customers. Already there you'll see a lot of customers lying outside. So as an employee, I never get to attend sessions. So I learn from anything that is posted internally or from YouTube as well. So first thing first, prioritize what is it that you're trying to do. Why is this conference important for you? Are you trying to make connections? Then what kind of connections will help you in your application that you're hosting on AWS, or is it a career opportunity for you? Like you said, if you're a student, your mindset of getting into these conferences is different from someone who has invested a lot on AWS and have applications running on AWS and what they want to achieve out of that. So understand your own priorities. What is it that you're achieving from this conference, and then plan out things. From networking perspective, I think, like we mentioned, like some of the talks are recorded, so they will be on YouTube, so you can catch up on them later on. But if you're trying to talk to that, like for example, I'm coming to ReInvent, I want to meet Stephen, I want to meet Rahul, I want to know about cost optimization. But yes, I want to learn more than that session. I want to bring that connection with Rahul and with Stephen, that hey, beyond ReInvent, beyond this session, I want to talk to you more about this topic. I would love to personally come and meet you at your session and say hi. After the session, there is always a Q&A, so I can come and say hi and exchange my contacts. Like you can exchange LinkedIn or something, whatever you use, and you can exchange those contacts to have more discussions later. With Expo, I think it's fun. Expo, if you go early on to the Expo, before the keynote starts or before the session starts, I think that is the much better place to go for the Expo, because a lot of goodies and swags, they actually run out by the last day. So go as early on if that is something you want to get from the event as swag. I've seen people get like 2 empty luggage bags just so that they can fill up with swags. It's crazy. But yes, I've seen people do that. So if that is the thing, go before the keynotes, go before the sessions, and the expo should be much more relaxed. Actually, it never is relaxed. There's always something happening. But yes, if you need swags and if that is your priority, go first round. So yes, prioritize what is your thing and then plan out before you go to reInvent. Not that I woke up in the morning and let's see what I'm going to do today. You're already lost, is what I feel.
Yeah. I'll add my the algorithm that I have kind of come up with for reInvent. So 30% of my calendar is kind of pre-booked, where I know that I'm meeting with specific people at specific times. Those might be lunches, dinners, breakfasts, if I can find one. But yeah, so I usually try and book those in advance, and those are already scheduled. I do spend completely lone time, if possible, or with a close circle of either colleagues or very technical people, specifically to watch the keynotes. And why I like, so we host something called a keynote watch party. We've hosted those all these years, where we either have folks from AWS
Nice.
or our own colleagues, or sometimes technical specialists, where we sit down and as things are being announced, because AWS keeps a lot of things very tight-lipped and secretive, especially all the big announcements that need to be made. But I love having a few people. It's not 100 people. It's typically 10 people or less that are sitting together, and we have conversations about what those announcements might mean for the future. It kind of sets the tone for the next year. So I like a little more quiet time, thinking time, where I can take notes, I can write stuff down and think about things to follow up on, right? Reflect about what it means for our business, what it means both on, not just on the CloudFix side, but also on we are also a very large AWS customer from the standpoint of the group that we belong to. So across 150 enterprise software products, what does these announcements mean for those products that we work on? So I like that quiet time. And then I spend about 40% of my time then talking to the service team, the product teams, to get early access, preview access, all of those conversations, talking to the GMs or the specific product people, asking them about nuanced questions about what might we be able to do with the products, or with the new announcements, with the new services. So that we dedicate a bunch of time, because it's rare. You of course have the EBCs where you get a chance to meet with the product teams, but just when something is announced, when something is absolutely fresh, and you're literally coming up with ideas every second, having someone anchor down expectations and say, okay, this is what it is going to be initially, this is how it's going to evolve, getting that initial clarity very quickly, instead of waiting for an EBC maybe a quarter later. That really helps. So meeting with all the product teams, the service teams, the SAs who are there with us, having that is really amazing. So I dedicate about 40% of my time on that. And then I do spend maybe 10 to 20% of my time on the expo floor, because there are a lot of amazing insights that you get from talking to, meeting with, and seeing what others are doing with AWS. There are use cases that you might never have thought about. There are a lot of tools out there that you can leverage instead of trying to build one yourself from scratch. And I think it really helps to understand how the market is evolving. Now, I have a different take on when to go to the expo floor. Right? So I usually go there post keynote, for a simple reason that I like to understand, in the context of the latest announcements that just got made, which tools are relevant, which tools are going to have a little more of the longevity, which tools are not thin shims but have genuine deep insights that are going to stand the test of time, because you are at reInvent to make long bets, not short bets. So when you're making these long bets, it's the people that you're making the long bets on. And then when you're at the expo floor, the technologies and the approaches that people are taking. So that's how I like to organize my time generally. But again, there are so many different personas that come to reInvent.
Yeah.
You might have to figure out your own as well.
Yep, yep. If you are an AWS customer, and you had a very good point there about EBCs. I think a lot of customers are not aware, or the account teams are not aware of getting those EBCs in, right? Because those have to be in way in advance, because it needs a room and blah 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 to be booked, and the service team is also running from customer meeting to another meeting. One thing, when I was the SA for one of our big customers in India, and that year I was able to get this customer to reInvent not just one but two talks, because getting a customer to speak at reInvent was also a big deal.
Yeah.
It goes through, you're literally competing with millions of people or millions of customers to get a slot at reInvent. And it was an eye-opening experience, because I was able to get them like 14 meetings in the whole week with the 2 sessions to do. And after a point it became clear that what are the activities that the product teams expect you to do before you go into that meeting, right? So you have your story straight. What is it that you're trying to achieve? What have you done till date? What are the problems that you're trying to solve? And if that product can actually help you solve it, and what is the next step for you to take to actually have the solution. So yes, these are different personas, but then preparation should happen before. Think about it. And I liked your percentages of how you divide your time. Not everyone has to go through the similar, but I love the approach. Like, yes, have different dedicated time, and then and spend some time with yourself. It becomes too draining. Like I am an ambivert. I love talking to people, but after a point I'm like, I'm just drained. I need my own me time, absorb all of this, and then refresh and come back. Yeah.
Absolutely right. I think this brings up one other point that I want to make sure I'm not missing, which is getting that time with the product teams is generally very hard to get, especially around an EBC, which is a non-reInvent activity. So outside of reInvent, unless you are a reasonably large customer, it's really hard to get an EBC. So because again, it's priorities, it's how you prioritize time, how AWS will prioritize its time, and so on. So reInvent is actually a great time to actually meet with the product teams, because they are all there, right? The product teams are there, the service teams are there. The one thing that, or the set of people that you should rely on are your TAMs. So reach out to your TAMs well in advance. Make sure that you make your priorities very clear to your TAMs and tell them exactly what you want. And TAMs are amazing at helping facilitate a lot of these conversations. They will figure out a way to get some time. They will try and get you there in time and get you the audience that you request. So no matter what size you are, reInvent is actually the place where you can actually make these conversations happen more than any other time of the year. Especially if you're not a very big, named brand in the global, 2000 list.
And one interesting story associated with that, that I think will have a useful tip as part of it. Last year, I was talking to some of the folks on our internal teams, and we really had some event bridge questions that we wanted to get answered. I reached out on Twitter to a person I was following and never really spoken to one-on-one before, but reached out. His name is, Nick STE. And I said, hey, we've got some people here. We really need to have a quick conversation if you have some time. And we met at the booth. And then I realized there is nowhere within a 20-minute walk that's actually quiet enough to talk. And so we actually ended up sitting in the staging area for some of the caterers on some empty pallets. That worked well enough, right? Because finding a quiet place to meet, once you have the right people, you can meet at the expo floor. There's nowhere quiet within a 25-minute walk of that expo floor. So part of that is planning that out. But people are flexible and they're willing to. We literally sat on some pallets in the staging area for some caterers, kind of behind one of the curtains of the expo floor, and that was good enough. Had a great conversation about EventBridge, and it was one of these organic meetings that just worked out because everyone was in the right place at the right time, and there is that openness and the willingness. Everyone's there, for that reason. He was there to teach whoever was there to listen, and we were there to listen. So it worked out really well.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'd say make the most of this to meet with people that you would otherwise not,
Yeah.
just physically. It's rare to come across a venue where you can actually meet with a bunch of people that would otherwise not be accessible. So use that as an opportunity to go meet with them, have a conversation with them. And I can tell you this from all the years of reInvent that I've been at,
Okay.
everyone is amazingly nice. They are incredibly courteous. If you request to meet with them, I have never seen anyone say no. They might say, "Hey, I have a really packed schedule. Can we squeeze in time at this time or that time?" It might not be the most convenient, time, but they will go out of their way to figure out a way to accommodate you, to meet with you. You have to understand that they are incredibly busy at the same time, but everyone is incredibly nice. Everyone is there for the same reason, to network, to meet with people, to kind of learn and share at the same time. And so all you have to do is ask. There is literally you lose nothing by asking for someone's time or just for a quick question, for a conversation. Take the effort to go meet with them wherever they are. But everyone is there to really, really help.
Yep. Agree.
Well, let's see. That's all really, really good advice. But using people's time, reaching out to other people. Let's see. Wanted to think about. Oh, I didn't. Wow, it is
Yeah.
9:58. Wow. Just like the time to reinvent. Time is flying in this conversation. I still have a couple of questions to ask. Rohini, we had just had that cost optimization stream like 2 weeks ago now. Tying that into reInvent and in general AWS announcements in general, what are you really excited about in the cost optimization landscape, and what do you kind of hope to see or look on what's on your radar from the cost optimization perspective for reInvent and then in general AWS announcements?
I would say I'm really looking forward to your session now. I want to know what is this cost optimization spectacular. Sadly, I won't be at reInvent this year, but I will find a way to actually get access to that for sure. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, like every year we have some amazing announcements coming out. Like, we have been announcing Graviton and Graviton 3. So I know there are still more things that we as AWS can do with respect to helping customers not only just reduce cost but also identify cost wastage. And I'm looking forward to some of these announcements that hopefully will come out this year's reInvent, along with the whole Gen AI stuff that is going to be bombarded with to us this year. But I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I guess that's a great wrap up for us. And actually, we are doing a wrap up stream at reInvent. We're doing a live stream every morning, and we're also doing kind of a post game show at the end of reInvent. And we're going to have some folks from AWS talking about what will be freshly made public knowledge at that point in time. We don't know what we're talking about, but they do. So we'll be able to digest that in real time. Rick Ox will be joining us Thursday afternoon. Be surely some announcements relating to compute optimizer and other optimization technologies. We've got Lorenzo Winfrey joining us. We're going to be having a really fun end of reInvent wrap up show. So we'd love to. I will make sure that that's published on the CloudFix page, so you can subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can see when that comes up and join us live.
Correct.
Lovely.
And if you're not in Vegas, this is a great opportunity to connect with a lot of these folks online. We are going to be doing the live stream with the AWS folks right there. So if you have questions, use us as a channel to kind of ask those questions to these guys, and we will make sure that these get answered to the best of everyone's ability. So use this as a mechanism as well. Again, we're here as a community. We're trying to learn more about AWS. We're trying to do more with AWS and be as efficient as possible. So if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, and you want to share your experiences, please feel free to post on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Twitch, or YouTube, all the places where this has been streaming live. And we would love to hear from you and get your thoughts.
And then Rohini, is there a great place where we can see a summary of some of how your must-know tips for reInvent?
Yes, so there is a blog. I don't know if I can share it, but you can share it for sure. Yes, I did write a blog of 3 must-know tips for reInvent. I know it's more than 3. I can never.
That's just good value.
Never cut down to 3, but yes.
That's a great title to know that it's only 3, and then you get more. You get bonuses.
You do get bonuses, but yes, I have listed down some of the things that we actually talked about today, and I have also linked there to different articles written by AWS heroes and AWS community builders because they are attending it first time, and this is the list. So if you can go on the tag on my blog, you will find a reInvent tag on the website, and there is just more coming in. Like this is still populating, so there's more coming in with respect to reInvent. For sure. So we all are equally excited about reInvent.
That is awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm sorry, Rohini, we are going to be missing you, but we will catch you live and online
Yes.
During reInvent.
For
And I hope we can count on having you on standby answering questions that people have for us from all the stuff that
Lovely.
gets announced.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. That's going to be fun. At least something I do sitting at home. Awesome.
We are in a global world, so we can make all of this stuff happen. With that, thank you so much, Rohini, for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure we're going to have you back on the show pretty soon. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Rohini.
Rahul.
Really
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having me. This was fun.
And thank you, audience.
Bye.
And we'll see you next
Thanks,
time.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Some tools just find AWS cost savings and make you do all the work. Visualizing cost opportunities is great, but that's not enough. CloudFix, on the other hand, actually delivers those savings for you. And you don't need to worry because CloudFix fixers are AWS recommended and easy to use. It's the only tool that fixes cost savings opportunities and doesn't just find them. It's the easiest way to save money on AWS. It's all 100% automatic and risk-free. And the best part is that it works non-stop. See for yourself. Click on the button to get a free demonstration of CloudFix and stop overspending on